Good morning, guys. Today's project, wow, I look really pale, is going to be the Talon somewhere behind me. It needs to go back together because it is about 11:35 right now, and I want to take it to go get lunch. So it should be good to go as far as running wise. So fresh spark plugs in it, fresh injectors, and last time I started it up with the new injectors and the new spark plugs, it was running pretty good. So gonna try that one more time before I put all the air box back on, because once you do that, it's not easy to get to anymore. So the battery was dead last time, but let's see if it starts up. Yeah, battery's cooked. I left the key turned to the on position the other day. Let's see how she sounds. Sounds a lot happier. There got some oil on the exhaust from running it without the valve cover, so gonna burn that off. But then just got to put everything back together. It's a little time consuming to put it all back together, but see how easily it goes back. I'm gonna change the oil on this thing because it's been in there a little while, and thankfully this kit literally just showed up. Everything I need to change the oil. It's a freaking lot of oil for a little 2-cylinder. So swap that out. The kit even came with a new oil filter and a transmission filter. Time to pull the fluid out. I honestly don't know how long it's been in there. Not very long, but I was worried it had a little water in it, but it doesn't. So going to change that out. Honestly, I was thinking about not changing the filter, but I'll check it. Look at that, it's a new oil filter going in. So I changed both filters, the dual clutch trans filter and the oil filter. It's very odd that there's two filters because they're actually the same fluid. So I don't really see the whole purpose between having two filters. I don't really fully grasp that. But it's all the same fluid in the same spot, same oil pan, all of that. But it's two filters. Not fully getting that. But that doesn't really matter because I'm not the Honda engineer. I just am the guy that put 6.1 quarts of oil into my transmission and engine. It's just so weird to have engine oil with the transmission. I don't grasp that. It just doesn't seem like the best route. But if they deem it's okay, I'm gonna go ahead and guess it's okay. And then I got some fluid to put in the sub-trans in the front. So that I'm gonna use a little bit different of a fluid. So the sub-trans, I'm gonna use this Mobil 1 10W40 along with this Lucas Pure Synthetic oil stabilizer. So I'm gonna try those two. A lot of people on the forum say that it's really good. It helps get rid of some of the sub-trans grinding. So I'm gonna try that. Mix it up a little bit. For the engine oil, I just used straight up from Honda oil, I believe. Yeah, Pro Honda oils and chemicals. So very simple. And then change that fluid out too. So this thing will have basically a fresh bill of health as far as fluids go. I don't have any fluid for the diffs. All right, all the fresh fluid is in. Yeah, I understand that this is all motor oil, but that's what the sub-trans calls for. Normally people just run this same stuff in there, but I didn't really want to. I wanted to try something a little different, a little thicker, and see how it does. The stuff that came out was very milky. I don't know if that meant it had water in it. It probably had gotten water in it at some point. I'm really wouldn't be all surprised by that, but I do have enough oil here because obviously the kit did include sub-trans oil. Who would have thunk? I just thought I was buying an oil change kit, and here I am doing a full fluid change. But figured I'd try the Racing 4T stuff. And now fresh fluid, it's running good. Hopefully that valve cover is sealed, and then clean this up, put it back together. She is ready for the weekend. Remember how I was saying this thing has crazy crankcase pressure? Just watch. I don't know if the rings are gapped for 50 pounds of boost or what, but just watch when I pull out the oil dipstick here. Granted, this is the oil and the clutch dipstick, but man, look at this. Like, what? And this is how they all are. So it must be normal. I've checked on a couple other of my buddies when they're running, and that is how they are. I don't know if maybe it just needs to get up to temp and the rings seal up a little better, or maybe that's because the clutch is kind of part of that whole system, but man, the crankcase pressure on these is insane. I'm just gonna write that off as it's part of the clutch system. Unfortunately, because I decided to do a full fluid change, I did not have time to take it to lunch, so take it tomorrow. It is back together and ready to go for this weekend, so that's awesome. Well, been plucking away on this thing all morning. Radiator setup is pretty far along. I drilled and tapped this coolant elbow deal here and put a fitting in there so that the steam ports can go right to it. A lot of people go up here, but I'm gonna try it down there. I think it'll be okay. Did not feel like tapping the radiator to put it in there because that's kind of a job, but if that doesn't work, it's pretty easy to just weld up and put to right here. But if that works, that's cool. That would be done. Put my vacuum line for the regulator, just some stuff I had laying around. Obviously it's not the prettiest setup, but it'll work. Put the coils on, tightened up the headers, ran the trigger wire for my power steering pump, tested that, finally screwed down the filter here. Wiring is pretty far along as well. Fuel system is done, I want to say. I'm pretty sure fuel system's all done. Power steering pump's not leaking. What else did I do here? Just got to fill it up with oil, put the spark plug wires on. I have these ones from the V1. Look at that. They even say Leroy the Savage. That's how long I've had these for. That's funny, the Taylor wires. What else is next? It's pretty far along, just have to keep buttoning things up, and then hopefully it's ready to start next week. That will be the goal. We're getting very close on this thing. Couple little minor things left. Still have to figure out how to mount the seat. I have tried 3 different ways now, and I cannot get it to where it's a comfortable position for me, low enough to where my helmet's not touching one of these bars. Unfortunately, this is just too small of a car for me. The cage is just way too tight, and there's just very little I can do about that. But I'm gonna put the steering rack back in, make sure the dash still fits. The wiring looks terrible right now, but that's not finalized just yet. Trunk is looking good. And a couple of you guys did see somebody ask if the trunk does close. yes, it closes perfectly fine. I just don't want to close it just yet because this latch is broken. So to get it open, you have to climb through and pull it. Classic. All my trunk latches break. I don't know what the deal is with that. Brake lines just need to be finished. Those have been the biggest pain in the butt. I absolutely hate doing brake line stuff. It's so annoying. It's just like one of those tedious jobs that always ends up leaking or something. I don't know. It's a pain in the butt doing custom brake lines front to back. Would not recommend. And if you do it, don't just buy a kit, just do it yourself, because the kits that I got are basically useless as well. They have all the wrong stuff, it seems like. None of it wants to go into the right places, but that's besides the point. So brake lines, seat mounted, steering column in, transmission in and bled, drive shaft in. I got the drive shaft right here. I've had it for a little while now. I just have not put it in yet. It's looking very nice. Waiting for one lower radiator hose, and that's done. Just need to put clamps on all this stuff once it's finalized. It is very, very close. Waiting on a throttle cable for this. It's like a weird one because it has to be like extra short, but not really at the same time. Odd deal too. A couple of odd pieces on this that I need. Most people don't do this style intake on a 240 from what I've seen, so a couple of different stuff. Very close to starting. It could probably start basically right now. There's nothing really stopping it from starting. Definitely got to put oil in it. That's a good one. Definitely don't like to forget that. But there's really nothing stopping it. So just gonna keep buttoning it up because I like to start a car for the first time when it's like ready, not like, you know, cobble stuff together and touch two wires together to start it. I've been a part of a lot of those and I hate that. And keep on chugging. This thing's getting super close. It's actually giving me some much needed motivation because of how close it's getting. It was so far away from running before that I was getting extremely discouraged, but now that we're basically right there, pretty excited about it. So I figured I'd pull the diff fluid out of the 240 because it was unknown mileage, and even if there was fluid in there. And look at that on the drain plug. Pretty gross. The fluid was nice, but this drain plug is freaking nasty. Go figure. Like, the fluid looked like it had never been used, which was kind of what I had imagined. But there is a lot of... That is definitely a piece of a weld. So hopefully the weld diff holds up. We'll see. We'll know very, very quickly whether that diff is welded or not. From what I can tell, it is welded. Obviously you can spin, you know, both tires like a welded diff. But that doesn't mean that the weld is going to last all that long. So we'll know very soon. Thankfully, you can acquire a new diff for these pretty easily. Big oof. Just pulled 2 spark plugs out of this motor. Look at cylinder 1. Covered in rust, oxidized. That is cylinder 2. It's not covered in rust, but it is rough looking. Oof. Hopefully the cylinder wall doesn't look like that. I better break out the borescope, see how it looks, because that is pretty rough. 2 spark plugs were not in there anymore. I had them out for, I don't even remember why, but had them out sitting not in the car, so wide open. But man, that is not ideal. I wonder if the valve was just open. It was taped up, but I hadn't sprayed WD-40 or anything in the motor. Definitely should have, but it just sat inside on the shop floor for a few months and then in the car for a while. But that is bad looking. So hopefully this motor isn't too hurt before I even start it. That is a little disappointing, but at the end of the day, this is just a 200-ish, almost 200,000 mile LS6 with heads and cam. Other than that, it's unopened. So in the end of the day, it is just a pretty cheap, basic motor. This motor does not owe me anything. It lived in the V1 for 100,000+ miles, and then was in the Camaro for a few 9-second passes, and then is now serving drift duty. So it really doesn't owe me much. I'm sure a lot of you guys are gonna be like, I'll pull the whole thing apart. Guys, I'm not gonna just pull this motor apart. If it blows up, it blows up. It's just a motor. So I'm gonna pull the rest of them and put some fresh spark plugs in it. Have you guys seen the price of spark plugs lately? They don't want to put fresh spark plugs in this thing. I need to get a spark plug cleaner. All right, also on my list of things I gotta do, I have this here Holley digital dash, and I have this Motion Raceworks steering column mount, which I don't have like a tubular style steering column, but I think I can make this work. Just kind of bolt it right to there, something like that. And then once the dash is installed, I could probably just have it all looking nice and rigged up. So, had this from the Camaro, got this from guys over at Holley. Nice digital dash. This is like my favorite kind of stuff. I freaking love digital dashes and all the kind of like ECU tech stuff and that kind of stuff. So, I'm excited to put this together. All right, first put the dashboard in, and then we can go from there, see what kind of fitment we can get. All right, so figured out how I'm gonna modify it. So right now, you see how that kind of arm swoops down? I'm going to cut it and flip it so that this piece right here is kind of in the middle, and then I'll probably take a piece of scrap tubing like that and just weld it straight up and down right here so that it mounts right to it, and then it retains all the adjustability and everything like it has right now. But first, time to cut this little weld right here and re-weld it, and even like slot it in there, so it should be able to flip pretty easily if I can cut that weld nicely. Then grind down the powder coat, re-weld it. It is steel, so it should be pretty easy to weld. My aluminum welds are not really great, unfortunately. So, time to work on that. Oh yeah, getting closer. Look at that. Things are actually working. Getting very close. Looks about perfect. I am very happy with how that mounted up. Sturdy enough. I can see my air cleaner, which is good. Dashboard looks good enough. Shifter just needs to be finished up. This guy somewhere over here. I don't know where. Maybe like right there. That's kind of nice. This is something where I definitely want to talk to a drift guy, because I have no idea what would be ideal here. Like that, it's a pull style, so maybe like right there, and then the shifter right next to it. I don't know. That would be definitely something I need to talk to a drifter about. That would be a good spot because it doesn't interfere with the dashboard, but honestly, no idea. Switches all work. Lights, ooh, bright. That's a little better. Very bright in here. I just need to tuck up these wires all the way. Zip tie them down the A-pillar roll cage bar, I guess you'd call it. Very excited to drive this thing now, because it is getting very close. Can't wait to rip it on the street a little bit, do some fun stuff like that. So, a lot of you guys were kind of curious. This is the main kill switch for the car. The fuel pump is right here. I don't want to run it dry right now, but it is right here. So everything can be on at once, but the second you actually turn the car off like that, you will kill all power. And then there's also a kill switch out there that kills all power. So the second you pull that out, no more power to the car. Dashboard nicely hides everything. coming along quickly. That'll do it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Got a lot done on the 240, got a lot done on the Talon in this video, and hopefully next week things are coming together to give this thing the first startup. Things are coming together. I'm really excited for that. So definitely stay tuned. Next week's gonna be a lot of action with the 240. Maybe even drive it next week if I can really push on it. Hard to say. Definitely need to get some tires and wheels coming for it, but that'll do it, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep it saucy. I'll see you next time.